Christopher Shays, what should the United States do to ensure that potentially hostile nations such as Iran and Korea not develop nuclear weapons?
Well, first off, I believe we need to have an embassy in every country. Had we had an embassy in Iraq, I don't think we would have gone. I think our intelligence would have been different. I think that we need an embassy in Cuba, in Iran, and North Korea. And I think that we have to be working even harder with our European friends. I'm convinced that if Iran gets close to having a nuclear weapon, Israel will take unilateral action. I'm convinced of it. Because I've been there and they basically told me that. They've told me that we learned our lesson in World War II. If your enemy says he's going to annihilate you, pay attention. Iran has made it clear what they're going to do. Israel will not sit idly by. And by the way, it's ironic, but all of the Middle East is working together. Israel is working with Egypt and Jordan and Turkey. They're comparing notes about the threat that they have from Iran. If Iran gets nuclear weapons, Egypt, Mufarraf told me that he will get nuclear weapons. We already know the Saudis will, and they'll be held to pay. We have to convince our European allies that if they don't want war, if they don't want unilateral action on the part of any nation in the Middle East, they've got to help us be even stronger with our embargo.
Jim Hunt?
It's not just North Korea and Iran, it's Pakistan. I frankly worry as much about Pakistan as I worry about North Korea and Iran. Iran is developing nuclear weapons. North Korea, who knows what they're doing today? It changes every day. But the one thing I would say is that we will solve these problems not acting alone. We will solve these problems working with our allies. And that's very challenging. We're going to solve these problems working with places that aren't our allies, like China and Russia. To put pressure on Iran, which we must do, because we must at all costs avoid finding ourselves with nothing other than a military option to address nuclear weapons in Iran, we're going to work with the Russians. So we have to be very, very careful about that. We have to be very careful about how we act around powers that we need to address the serious foreign policy challenges and the strategic risks that we face. Now, people will be watching what we do in Afghanistan. We cannot have the same outcome in Afghanistan that we had in Iraq. We must quickly do what we need to do. Chris Shays just said, based on his experience in Iraq, he's got a view of how to deal with Afghanistan. Chris Shays spent years going to Iraq saying, things are looking up, there are weapons of mass destruction, I support the president. If that's his experience in Iraq, I think I'll take a pass on Afghanistan.